Because I win, Eileen Gu fires back at JD Vance over Olympic representation for China. US-born freestyle skier Eileen Gu has pushed back against criticism from Vice President JD Vance over her decision to compete for China at the 2026 Winter Olympics, saying her victories have shaped public perception and fueled debate in the United States. Following the halfpipe event last week, Gu, who represents China and remains one of the most high-profile athletes at the Milano Cortina Games, addressed the ongoing criticism she faces in the U.S., including recent comments from U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance, as well as a frightening past incident at her university. In a recent interview with Fox News, Vance referenced Gu, stating he hoped someone who grew up in the U.S. would want to compete with the United States. Gu appeared unfazed by the vice president's remarks. "I'm flattered. Thanks, JD. That's sweet," she replied playfully. When asked if she feels like a punching bag for certain factions of American politics, Gu agreed. "I do," the 22-year-old told USA Today. "So many athletes compete for a different country. People only have a problem with me doing it because they kind of lump China into this monolithic entity, and they just hate China. So it's not really about what they think it's about." She also pointed to her dominance in the sport as a primary driver of the vitriol. "And also, because I win. Like if I wasn't doing well, I think that they probably wouldn't care as much, and that's okay for me. People are entitled to their opinions." The intense public scrutiny has seemingly spilled over into safety concerns. When asked about her physical safety, Gu revealed a disturbing incident that occurred last year on Stanford University's campus, where she is an undergraduate student. She described being targeted by a person who came and physically attacked me in broad daylight, clarifying that the attacker was not a Stanford student. "And then our dorm was robbed. It was pretty serious, yeah." Gu's point about dual national athletes is common in winter sports and was evident in her own event. Great Britain's Zoe Atke, who won the halfpipe qualifying round with a stellar score of 91.50, was born in Massachusetts. Gu, 22, was born in California. She represented the United States at the junior level before deciding in 2019 to compete for China, her mother's homeland. At the Beijing 2022 Winter Olympics, she won gold medals in big air and halfpipe, along with a silver in slopestyle. At the 2026 Winter Games, Gu faced the brink of elimination after falling during her first run of the halfpipe qualifiers. She rallied under immense pressure, delivering a clutch second-run score of 86.50 to finish fifth and secure her spot in the February 21 finals, where she successfully won gold to duplicate her Beijing performance. The victory means Gu is now the most successful freestyle skier in the Games' history. She has competed in 6 Olympic events over her career, halfpipe, slopestyle, and big air in both Beijing and Milan Cortina, and has won a medal every single time. "I walk away as the most decorated free skier of all time, male or female, and the most gold medals of any free skier ever, male or female," she said, as quoted by The Independent. "And that is something that I'm so proud of." In the winter air of global competition, where flags flutter, anthems swell, and the world narrows its gaze to ice and snow, sport has always been more than sport. It is identity. It is politics. It is pride. And sometimes, it is a young woman standing at the center of a storm, answering criticism with 3 unshakable words. "Because I win." When Eileen Gu chose to represent China at the Winter Olympics, the world leaned in. Born in San Francisco to a Chinese mother and American father, raised between cultures, languages, and continents, she embodied something modern and fluid, something that did not fit neatly inside the hard borders of geopolitics. But modern identities often collide with traditional expectations. When U.S. Senator J.D. Vance questioned her Olympic representation, implying a kind of betrayal or opportunism, he gave voice to a broader tension. Who owns an athlete? What does nationality mean in a globalized world? Is allegiance measured by birthplace, passport, heritage, or performance. Eileen Gu's response was not long. It was not defensive. It was not theoretical. Because I win. 3 words. Part defiance, part mic drop, part truth. The making of a global citizen. Eileen Gu grew up in a household where dumplings and English idioms coexisted. She attended American schools, trained on American slopes, and absorbed the competitive ethos of U.S. athletics. But she also spent summers in Beijing, speaking Mandarin, absorbing Chinese history, and connecting with her maternal heritage. She was not split between 2 worlds. She was both. In an era when globalization allows students to study abroad, professionals to work remotely across continents, and families to span hemispheres, Gu's identity was hardly anomalous. Yet sports, particularly the Olympics, remain one of the last arenas where identity is rigidly national. The Olympic podium is arranged in flags. The medal ceremony plays an anthem. The scoreboard categorizes humans by country code. When Gu decided to ski for China, she did so publicly and unapologetically. She said she wanted to inspire young girls in China. She said she wanted to promote winter sports in a country where they were still emerging. She said she felt connected. But critics did not hear inspiration. They heard departure, the politics of belonging. For some Americans, Gu's choice was interpreted as a rejection. A homegrown talent, trained in the United States, now competing under another flag, specifically that of a strategic rival. In that context, comments from Vance reflected a larger political climate in which U.S.-China relations are frequently framed as competition or conflict. To represent China, in this narrative, was to choose sides. But Gu's story complicated that binary. She was not defecting from one ideology to another. She was navigating dual heritage in a world that prefers singular loyalty. When Vance criticized her, the subtext was clear. Greatness, if cultivated in America, should remain American. That success carries obligation. That victory belongs to a nation before it belongs to the athlete. Gu's response, because I win, shifted the lens entirely. She reframed the conversation away from geopolitics and toward excellence. Winning as identity. There is something audacious about answering political scrutiny with competitive dominance. But there is also something deeply American about it. Ironically so. In many ways, Gu's statement echoed the meritocratic ethos the United States celebrates. Perform, achieve, succeed. Results matter. Her gold medals at the 2022 Beijing Winter Olympics were not symbolic gestures. They were measurable, undeniable accomplishments. In freestyle skiing, she did not merely participate, she dominated. Winning, in her framing, was not just about podiums. It was proof of value, proof of legitimacy, proof that her decision was not a marketing ploy or a political statement, but a competitive one. She wins. Therefore, she belongs. The simplicity of that logic unsettles critics because it bypasses ideology. It reduces complex debates about allegiance to performance metrics. In elite sports, victory is currency. Gu,